Today, on Be Something Wonderful, manifesting being debt-free and with the SP. Here's the key. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Huge video, mega video this morning. This comes from a session that I had yesterday and a session that I had this morning. One had to do with this person who was in a lot of debt and is now debt-free, and another person who was with a specific person. That person got cold. They were talking about marriage. We're away from each other months, and now she's back with that SP. I want to talk about both these cases, both of these things, because both of them, in both cases, especially the one who was debt-free, because she sent me an email yesterday, right, and then booked a session for this morning, early this morning, that said, you know, there was one thing that you said to me that really sat with me, that really I embodied. And she said, you said that one single shift in identity changes everything. Wow. One single shift in your viewpoint, one single shift in your self-concept, one single shift in your opinion of yourself changes your entire life. And this is what happened in both cases. The client that is now debt-free and the client that is now with her SP, that he's talking about marriage and all that stuff. So I want to hit both of them. And so let's talk about the person that was in debt. Remember, I think I talked to her. This was back in August 2021. So now I haven't heard from her since then. And now she said, it just changed my whole life. In other words, she had a huge credit card balance on one of her credit cards and smaller balances on others. And essentially, it didn't matter how much she imagined or what she did. It just seemed to get worse. She didn't seem to be able to affirm her way or imagine her way, or even do her way out of this. Why? She was identifying with an identity, as we had talked about with her, that she's always had credit cards, she's always had debt, that she's never been ahead of it, that she's a person that just doesn't manage her finances well. All of that, we shifted. We made that one single shift in identity. And then of course, over linear time, it changed, but it changed immediately. Right? It changed immediately. In fact, hear this, that $50,000 or more that she owed. So what happened was she just couldn't keep up with that, but she paid the others, right? Paid the others down. And remember, instead of saying that she was paying it, she looked at it, we talked about this, she looked at it as just giving back to Source. She was just giving back to Source what Source gave her. Giving and receiving is one. So that's what she thought about as she was doing that. And just saw herself in this new identity, this debt-free identity. And her credit score, at the time, I think she was saying it was in the low 600s, maybe in the high 500s, whatever it is. She's now like in the low 700s, she said. I think she said 710, 720. Turned her whole identity around. And here's the thing. So she couldn't pay that credit card. She said, yeah, they put it in collections, but it disappeared, essentially disappeared from her credit report, right? That it's not even there, right? She doesn't know what happened, and so but the payments to those others went on. So that she did get calls. Just keep in mind, she got calls from whoever they sold I guess she said they sold the debt to another company. I guess it was like a collection agency. And they called, but she was in her new identity. She wasn't rattled by those conditions anymore. Do you see it? And she just kept to that plan. And a bunch of other stuff that she said went on. But it's no longer on a credit report. It was on there, right? That she was doing late payments and all of that. But now that's not even on there. It's gone, right? The status is undetermined, right? Hear this. So I just want you to know that one shift identity, and she no longer identifies with that person that struggles with finances. The other person was that SP SP, right? And back, I think that there was a key point where it was his birthday, and she was imagining spending it with him, and instead he traveled to I think Paris, and he's European, so they were in Europe, and she started to, right, had this idea of wondering who he's with. I imagine, and I said that, remember, you can imagine, you can create whatever you want of that. You can create that he's just with friends or family. And that's exactly what happened. As she moved into the identity, that, because she was, first it was like, he doesn't miss me, he doesn't want to be with me. She moved into, of course he wants to be with me, of course he misses me. Of course I'm the one, right? Of course I'm the one that he wants to start a family with, and all of that. She stayed in that despite the conditions that were showing her differently. She was just in a new identity. And then they did get together. This was around December, I guess, and after the holidays. And he said to her, and I think it was in February, or they were just chatting and they're getting along. They're starting to see each other. And she says something like, "Well, I don't like doing laundry." He goes, "Well, you need your husband can do that." And she goes, "Are you applying?" He goes, "If it's still open." They were just playing. But again, he's there, and he said to her, she said, "He never says I miss you, ever, never said it." She goes, "That was my inner conversation. That was my new reality. That of course he's missed. Everyone misses me. I'm great to be with." And of course he said that. I just want to hit this, guys, both of these cases, right? And especially the one that was identifying herself as financially irresponsible or always having debt. Change that identity. It was one single shift in identity that creates everything. Your opinion, remember what Neville Goddard says, your opinion of yourself is your most important viewpoint. You are infinitely greater than you think you are. Remember, you're multidimensional. You're infinite. All of those realities, the reality where that person was debt-free and managing their finances perfectly in their mind, existed. It was already there, right? They were just taking the viewpoint of a possibility, right? Remember, all possibilities, all versions of you exist. That viewpoint that you don't manage them well and that you have debt, right? They changed their self-concept, just like the one with the SP, someone that is missed, someone that is loved, someone that everyone wants to marry her. She's the best thing since sliced bread, right? This idea, that view, changing that view, because it is true. You are the best thing since sliced bread. You are, I am, you're everything. You're multidimensional. That's what they get with. They weren't trying to imagine fixing a reality that they don't want or don't like. Hear the difference, because this came up in yesterday's video, which I pointed out. That person that was talking about imagining and even feeling good about it. Again, you're not trying to fix a reality that's broken. You're moving into the reality of your choice. You're, in other words, the new version of you, the new identity. I'm going to show you this in a few minutes. This is why Jesus asked, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" Matthew 6:13. In other words, who do 3D events, people, and circumstances say that you are? Jesus wasn't asking that, but that's what you think, right? You think that people are defining you, events are defining you, you define you. And remember, Jesus, the man, is God's idea, divine idea of I am. That's what the Son of Man is. It's Jesus, the man, that expresses itself in the physical world. That's you expressing yourself in the physical world, and you get to determine how you express yourself, what identity, what viewpoint, what mask are you going to wear? What limitations are you going to take on to experience yourself as I am? Experience yourself as that multidimensional being. How are you going to lower your vibration from that total ultimate vibration of I am and have an experience in 3D reality? You get to determine that, right? You're one with everything, right? And then Christ, of course, this is the Son of God, the perfect idea of the absolute multidimensional I am, infinite you. It's Jesus Christ, the I am, the ultimate I am, right? So I want to show this to you. Then his disciples answer, right? disciplines of mind, right? That's your mind, right? Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, but still others say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. I talked about this. You're going through, are you identifying and being defined by? Are you identifying with and being defined by those temporary 3D conditions? Right? Are you getting frustrated? Are you getting overwhelmed that you haven't seen what you want yet in 3D? Now you're defining by those 3D conditions. This is what really that I was talking about in yesterday's video. This person was frustrated and overwhelmed and didn't know, they kept saying that nothing is happening, yet I'm imagining it, right? And I want to get to this because there's imagining fixing your old reality, the old concept, and there's imagining a new concept, moving to that new you. In the first case, you're still attached to the old reality. You're still attached to the old concept you. You haven't died to that old you yet. And so that's why you're not seeing it. So no matter how much you imagine, how much you affirm, you're affirming from that old reality, from that old version of yourself, hoping to change that, hoping to see things different there, versus imagining being that new you and detaching from that old you and attaching to that new you, resurrecting in that new identity. So remember, in this case, he missed my birthday, he doesn't miss me, or I'm not important, or I'm not loved, or I'm not missed, right? He missed her birthday, and then she wanted to spend it with him on his birthday, and none of that happened, but she didn't, but again, the first thing was he missed my birthday, right? He doesn't miss me. She got into that state where I'm not important, I'm not loved, I'm not missed. All she needs to do is identify with that person who is loved by that higher power, by her, by that I am, that is missed, that is adored, right? Because that is why she manifested that idea that they didn't spend the birthday together. But as she stayed in that idea that it doesn't matter, that I know we are together, I know that I know who I am now, then it wasn't her worst case fears that got manifested. Do you see it? First it was her birthday. Then it was his birthday, and then she was trying to manifest the idea, or wanted to manifest the idea of spending time with him. And then she got this news that he's going to Paris for his birthday, that he can't spend time with her. Then she could have thought of, well, that's with somebody else, or he doesn't want to be with me. Instead, she stayed in that new identity. She identified with who she is now. She let all that stuff go. She let the old reality go. Turns out he was with family. Then they got together after the new year. This is how it works, right? Remember, and then the other case, the creditors keep calling. I can't pay it back. I'm in debt. I'm not worthy. It's always been like this. In other words, I'm not worthy. I'm not credit worthy. I'm not worthy. My score is in the 600s. So something kicked, that was the other one that turned her life around it by a simple shift in identity. Then there was the one yesterday. Something kicks me out of wish fulfilled. And days like today happen where I feel so helpless. Again, you couldn't possibly be identifying with that new version of yourself if that's your feeling. If you're feeling you're being kicked out of wish fulfilled and you feel helpless. You're identifying with the old reality. You haven't let that go. In all cases, you haven't died to the old you. You haven't detached from that old one and moved to that new one. So I want to show this today. In Neville Goddard says, only as one is willing to give up his present limitations and identity can he become that which he desires to be. Remember, everything is about limitation, right? Our true identity is that multidimensional personality, right? That all realities exist within us, all possibilities. So it's about deciding that you're going to give up your current limitations and take on a new identity. It's still a limitation, but you're deciding who you're going to be now, how you're going to limit that I am, who you're going to become. That's what Paul meant by I die daily. In other words, your identity, your self-concept, your viewpoint is how you define who you are. That's why Jesus asked, but remember when Jesus asked, who do you say I am? And they went through all of those scenarios of Jeremiah and the prophets representing 3D conditions, people, events, and circumstances, unwanted realities, all those things that you don't want to be. That Jesus points back, but who do you say that I am? How do you define that I am? How do you limit that I am or identify that I am? Or what viewpoint of that I am, of all that you are you going to take now? right? In other words, what's your identity? What's your self-concept? What's your viewpoint? Are you allowing temporary 3D conditions, inner fleeting thoughts and feelings, and outer conditions, people, events, and circumstances, to define you? That's really what I was talking about yesterday with that Facebook post, right? They're letting the inner thoughts and feelings, I all of a sudden I don't feel good, and so I'm out of wish fulfilled, right? You're letting that define you, or the outer conditions of things not happening, you don't believe they're happening yet, right, to define you. Or are you the Christ, the Son of the living God, the great I am, the multidimensional you? Are you those credit card companies calling you? Are you that identity that people miss your birthdays and that they don't miss you, or they don't want to be with you? Are you that identity, or are you that I am? Are you the great I am? Are you the Son of the living God, as Peter answered, Christ, the Son of the living God, where you can identify what your limitations are going to be, what your identity is going to be? What identity, what mask you're going to wear now? What part of all that is? What part of that 0.0001% do you want to identify with now? Because that one shift changes everything, right? So remember, here you are, right? And remember, it's not really parallel, it's all within you. So I just wanted to show how you can look at this. This is to give you an idea of all the infinite multidimensional yous. Who are you identifying with? Are you identifying debt-free or with debt? Are you identifying someone who's ignored and not missed, or someone that's loved unconditionally by that I am? Right? What are you identifying with? Desire, wanting, longing for something or someone else. Hear this. There's nothing wrong with desire. There's nothing wrong with wanting, in other words. If you know that wanting, that desire, is just a multidimensional you already experiencing that reality. So you want to, that's all that wanting and longing and desiring is. It's calling you to move to that identity, to assume it, to declare it, to announce that reality right now. Desire, wanting, longing for something or someone else is you intersecting and overlapping with another version of yourself. Do you see it? You're overlapping. That's what really, it's the ultimate deja vu. That's what desire is. It's deja vu. You feel like you've been there before. You feel like you know it. It feels familiar. Yet that's what desire is. Because that desire is familiar because it's you. It's you. It's a multidimensional you already living that reality. It's splashing over into your current experience. And you're looking at it as desiring and wanting, as separation. When it's really just a deja vu, it's you living that life already experiencing it. That's really what when you have experiences of deja vu, you think you've been there before, or you think you've done that before. It's because you're multidimensional and all those realities are happening now. It's not about reincarnation. It's about incarnation, and all of those incarnations of you as spirit, as an infinite spirit, are happening right now. Right? There is no, quote, past lives. All those lives are happening now. It's you. That's what deja vu is. That's what desire is. Right? That's what any feeling is. You're feeling a part of your infinite self. That's why feelings seem to come out of the blue. They come out of you. From whatever whatever you're focusing on in 3D reality, for sure, with your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions, with your thoughts and assumptions and beliefs, but also what your multidimensional is living. That's why those feelings are within you. You can touch those, you can feel those feelings, right? So all of it comes from you. I just want you to feel that you're multidimensional. So the 3D linear translation of desire is of desire, in other words, or of that, is that you feel separate from it. That's the key, right? It's not the desire that's bad, or even the wanting. It becomes wanting and it becomes desiring because we feel separated or separate from what we want. In other words, separate from that multidimensional you, that other aspect of you that's already living that reality. That gives us the experience of desiring and wanting. But look at it as just a signal, an indication that you can move to that you're living that reality right now, that there's a part of you living it. And it's being translated into this 3D sensation of desiring and wanting and longing, right? All your lives, all versions of you and realities are happening right now. Your desire is that deja vu. It's that memory. It's a mental image. It's imagining. It's reminding you to remember. I think Neil Donald Walsh talks about remember like this. To remember, to rejoin, to join with, identify with. Remember that who you are. Remember, become, rejoin with that desire, with that you that's already experiencing that reality. That's what desiring wanted is. Move to this you in reality that is spilling over into your current 3D experience right now, but that spillover of realities is being translated as something you don't have, as a wanting, as a longing, as something that you're separate from. It's not meant to that. It's meant to show you that you are connected with it, that you couldn't possibly desire it or want it or feel it if it wasn't spilling over, right? Wow, that's powerful. So remember, and I really want to get to this, daydreaming and fantasizing versus imagining and affirming your wish fulfilled. Well, they're both imagination, and there's nothing wrong with daydreaming and fantasizing, but there's a difference. What's the difference? Both are imagination. Both are real experiences of ultimate reality. They're real experiences, just like a night dream. Everything is real. It's either real, unmanifested potential or real manifested potential. It's all potential, right? But both can feel great, just like this client said yesterday. I'm imagining that wish. I'm imagining and I'm affirming and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling blissful. Well, you can feel blissful and great when you're daydreaming and fantasizing. It's still imagining. They're both imagining. One's imagining you're already that person. You're already living that. You have let go or detached from the old reality. When you're daydreaming and fantasizing, you're imagining, but you're still attached to that old reality. You believe you'll return to that old reality. You believe that old reality is real. Do you see the difference in that you're going to be in that there's really, I don't believe I'm going to move to that imagined reality. That's the difference. Both can feel great and blissful. The difference is when you are imagining your wish fulfilled, you are detaching from the old you in the old version of reality. That's what Paul meant by I die daily. And you're occupying, you're lighting up, moving and attaching to your new identity and version of yourself, regardless of what 3D conditions are telling you. Going to hit this again. Both can feel great. Both are imagination. Both are real experiences of ultimate reality. There's only what's real. It's only reality. Both can feel great, but the difference is when you're imagining your wish fulfilled, you're detaching from the old you and old version reality. When you're daydreaming, you're still attached to that old reality. You're still attached to who you believe you are. Right? And then when you're imagining your wish fulfilled, you're occupying, lining up, moving, and attaching to your new identity and new version of yourself, regardless of what the 3D conditions are telling you. So powerful today. What a distinction. What a distinction. Here's the key, right? Your concept of yourself, your assumption of yourself, the law of assumption, your ideal, your identity, your viewpoint creates and determines your reality, all of it. So who do you say you are? You die to the old you. I die daily. You lose your current reality in order to identify with it and to the viewpoint of the desired reality. How do you do it? You imagine it. Yeah, you affirm it, but you let go of that old reality. You move to it. You assume it. You assume that new identity, no matter what. Like my two other clients did. It was one single shift in viewpoint, one single shift in assumption, one single shift in identity, and then persisting in that despite the 3D conditions. Frequently returning to it, moving to it, no matter what they were thinking and feeling. Wow. No matter what those temporary inner and outer conditions that messy middle is showing you. You see all conditions, regardless of how contradictory, through the eyes of that new identity. That is manifesting being debt-free and with your SP. That's the key. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. We have a Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. You can visit us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, or just go to our website anytime at tomkearin.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Creators, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude. This is Tom. We'll see you soon.